Peace to the party. It's your homeboy back again with the news. We back, man. Sunday service. Got a new show for y'all. Going Black Romans from Judea to Britain. And we know we got Lee Cummings pulling back up, man. So we're gonna have a good conversation. But before we get to it, man, it's been a crazy week. It feel like these last few years, every week been crazy. A lot of news, right? So, we got to talk about a few things. So right now we got a government shutdown. So we got a lot of people on both sides going crazy. It's a lot of, it's a lot of rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? For no matter whatever your position is in politics, I can honestly say both sides is kind of going crazy. But it's getting to a point now where it's really egregious, bro. So first, let's take it to the other side real quick. I want to catch a few people up, then we're going to break it down and we're going to walk from there. So let's go take it to the other side and let's get it going, man.
President Trump is calling on Republicans to change the rules in the Senate to reopen the government. Trump posting overnight, it is now time for the Republicans to play their Trump card and go for what is called the nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster and get rid of it now. The move would allow Republicans to pass a bill to fund the government with a simple majority instead of the 60 votes currently needed. But Senate Majority Leader John Thune has warned against this move, saying it could come back to bite Republicans whenever Democrats take power back. Meanwhile, millions of Americans fear their food assistance or SNAP benefits will run out tomorrow as the government shutdown drags on.
I've gone to social media to ask for help from everyone that I could possibly think of.
It now appears a federal judge hearing a lawsuit over emergency funding may step in. Judge Indira Talwani saying right now Congress has put money in an emergency fund for an emergency, and it's hard for me to understand how this isn't an emergency. Republicans argue it's not that easy.
If they transfer funds from these other sources, it pulls it away immediately from school meals and infant formula.
The judge dismissing the administration's explanation, saying, I want agency action, not lawyering. We're not going to make everyone drop dead. The judge could compel the administration to release the funds, but whether the Trump administration will comply remains to be seen. And even if it does, the emergency funding available would still fall short of the monthly SNAP payouts. Back on Capitol Hill, Democrats digging in, refusing to open the government until Republicans agreed to extend Obamacare subsidies to prevent health care insurance premiums from skyrocketing next year. A Utah woman we spoke to says even with the subsidies, her premium next year will rise from $495 to $753. And without the subsidies, it will more than quadruple to more than $2,100.
We can't afford to double what it costs for us to live just to have health insurance.
Republicans argue the Affordable Care Act, which set up Obamacare, was a bad law that drives up premiums and strains doctors. President Trump last night posting, quote, Obamacare is a disaster. Rates are going through the roof for really bad health care. Do something, Democrats. Stacey Cox says right now a flawed plan is better than no plan. Meanwhile, as more government workers go without paychecks, more of them are turning to food banks.
Honestly, this has been devastating.
Wayne Barber says he's been an air traffic controller for 23 years.
I'm still going to show up to work because that's what I swore an oath to do.
But many air traffic controllers no longer getting paid are calling out sick, causing staff shortages and delays at major airports. At Orlando's airport yesterday, a warning that at one point there would be no certified air traffic controllers to land planes, forcing a ground delay.
A shortage of air traffic controllers was already a big problem before the government shutdown. Now authorities warn if the shutdown drags on, especially through the Thanksgiving travel period, it'll be a disaster.
All right, bro. So let's get to it, man. So, like I said, it's a lot of posturing going on from both sides. But over here, we do our research. Naturally curious. I was built to do this here. You feel me? So check it out. This is where we at with it, man. We got a little, let's go to the slide work. Let's actually talk factual about how we even got to this point. Because to be fair and to be frank, first off, we shouldn't be making fun of people who furloughed or laid off from, or whatever the situation is for government workers. And then for those who may be impacted with the benefits, this ain't even about trying to joke and play about that. It's about getting to the facts, which is all of us should be outraged, but not just one side. It's with the government in particular, because the budget is something that always happens. How are we letting a political event cause this action? Because that's what's going on. It's not nothing that can't be negotiated, which is why it's ridiculous. So the shutdown, it don't mean we broke. It don't mean the country, we ran out of money. It means that they're not agreeing upon the spending which the government relies upon for certain functions, not all functions. All right. So that's why the system will keep running. Certain things that's already allocated as different budgets for stuff is much more complex than people make it sound. Because I done heard all kind of crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? So so the funding expired in October, right? But the Republicans, this is when you'll hear them say, we've tried to pass something 13 times and keep getting denied. What they're talking about is this: they passed a CR 5371 to keep the government open until November 21st, which during this time they're supposed to be negotiating, right? Now, what they're supposed to be negotiating about, the Democrats are saying that they don't have what they want for the ACA, the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, all right? So basically, there's a portion that the government is supposed to pay to cover these premiums for people a part of this program. All right. Now, I'm not sure if anyone, I'm sure some of you have, if you went through this actual portal, you know, to get the health insurance, bro, the prices is crazy, even with the subsidies on them. I'm talking about the past few years, right? So basically what they're saying, the reason why it get more expensive is because they haven't agreed upon the government subsidies in the budget that take off some of the costs that we don't even see going through those premiums, even though they high as can be, right? We're going to get to that in a minute. So this is why they beefing, bro. The Republicans is like, bro, we can talk about this later. Why is this issue so big? This is when you hear some of the Republicans saying about the healthcare for illegals. Now, I haven't been able to pin down the documentation in this actual debate that they're having now about illegals. So I ain't going to put this on them, even though we know they definitely were in the country and they were getting services, but that's beside the point. Don't even matter, all right? What does matter is the government is shut down right now while the people who shut it down are still getting paid. You feel what I'm saying? It's a game being played. However, we got to call a spade a spade. And what's happening now is literally the Democrats using this for a political leverage to, for one, make Trump look bad and to get this Affordable Care Act, the subsidies that they need, which I'm going to keep it real with y'all. That whole Affordable Care Act, bro, that plan, that stuff is trash, bro. And it's not, the way they try to frame it is if it's just about healthcare for everybody. That's not what make it. It's the prices, and it's the fact that the insurance companies are the ones that are benefiting, bro, because they just basically over monopolize the market. They already had a monopoly on it, but now they're in with the government, right? So it don't matter what race you are, I'm pretty sure you would say, you know, people or yourself have had issues with the healthcare system in America. So like to give these folks free reign to ball out of control is crazy to me. All right. But this is where we at with it, regardless of whether you agree or not. But literally, this is why. So right now, this is what the whole beef is about. But then you see people on social media. This is where the posturing come in. Oh, Trump just built an extension on the White House, renovated on the White House while we shut down. Bro, this is why it's important for us to understand how our government works. These people are literally supposed to be working for us. It's on us to understand this. So if money was already appropriated in past year's budgets and the check is still open and moving, that money still can be spent on other things that it was already appropriated for. That don't have nothing to do with the fiscal year 2026 budget. You get what I'm saying? So it's like the ignorance that we be putting out is crazy, bro. We need to be informed on what's going on. So this is why the shutdown that's happening is for future and current monies, not for stuff that was already allocated in the past. So we got to be, but they're using this to say, oh, the Trump administration wants to make sure you don't eat and cut SNAP benefits, when the whole reason why they being cut is just because they couldn't agree on a budget that the Democrats are bucking. It's just a fact. It ain't about whether you on either side. We autonomous over here. We're with neither party, but the facts are the facts. All right. So then you had the whole Argentina. I saw people saying, well, how we got money to send to Argentina? So Argentina is coming from a different fund. It's appropriated differently, right? The Treasury Exchange Stabilization Fund, they had the money to release to Argentina. It's a whole bunch of slush funds, whatever you want to call it, that's always appropriated years in advance, bro. It's how this game works. Whole time, they making sure they see their interest, but we're not seeing ours as the citizens. We bickering amongst each other like some fools, but hey, we gonna keep walking. So that's what we at with that, right? So then let's look at these companies. Some of these health companies, United Health, 14 billion, Elevant, 6 billion, Centene 3.3. So we still got all these high premiums, deductibles. You need 2 and 3 insurances to reach certain threshold. Bro, it's ridiculous, right? But it's controlled through the government now. But for some reason, we want to make it seem like it's better just because you have Medicaid and Medicare involved. That was involved before Obamacare, bro. You know what I'm saying? We just got to think critically and stop letting these folks play with our emotion. All right, so check it out. So that's who really is benefiting. But it was funny, this popped up. Shout out to Mac. He shared something on Facebook about a filibuster that the Democrats did before. Because see, this ain't their first tactic, but I'm going to show you how they be talking out both sides of their mouth. So this video right here is from 4 years ago. Listen how they talking, okay? And then we're going to break some down. Hold on.
Historians do not agree. It has no racial history at all. None.
The place where we really started to come to understand the filibuster as we do today is really intimately connected with its use as an obstructive tool of civil rights legislation.
The filibuster was created in 1806 when senators eliminated a rule, unintentionally opening the door for unlimited debate.
There was not an immediate explosion of filibustering. That didn't happen until closer to the middle of the 19th century.
And after the Civil War, segregationists harnessed the power of the legislative tool.
There have been a lot of filibusters against civil rights, which had a huge effect upon the progress of civil rights in this country.
On August 28, 1957, a senator from South Carolina took to the Senate floor with one goal: preventing the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1957. Senator Strom Thurmond spoke for 24 hours and 18 minutes in what would become the longest speaking filibuster in Senate history. In 1964, Southern senators launched a record-breaking filibuster against the Civil Rights Act that lasted for 60 days. Neither of those attempts worked. But before that, the tool was used successfully to block anti-lynching legislation and deny Black people the right to vote.
The 1960 Civil Rights Bill, round-the-clock sessions, make them talk. And the Southerners, they were well organized. 2 of us will speak for 8 hours, and then 2 more for the next 8 hours, and 2 more for the next 8 hours. There's a reason people stopped just waiting it out, and it's because it was a losing game.
From kind of the mid-'70s to today, we've seen it become increasingly routinized. Now, almost everything that comes to the floor in the Senate is subject to this 60-vote threshold.
Filibustering is an attempt to block or delay Senate action on a bill. It can be done by talking at length, presenting multiple procedural motions, among other things. Those in favor of the filibuster say that it encourages compromise on legislation and limits the power of the majority. Others say it gives a small minority too much power and encourages obstruction.
In the modern Senate, nobody ever has to speak for 24 hours. So it's really that there is an implied threat, and then the majority is trying to come up with 60 votes to end an unlimited debate that never actually begins.
The filibuster has been used more in the past decade than ever before, ramping up under Senate opposition to President Obama. Democrats also used it while Trump was president to block things like border wall funding and anti-abortion bills. But now, many Democrats worry the filibuster will be used to block legislation rooted in the same fights of the 50s and 60s.
If all this takes eliminating the filibuster, another Jim Crow relic, in order to secure the God-given rights of every American, then that's what we should do.
We must find a way to pass voting rights whether we get rid of the filibuster or not.
These talking points are an effort to use the terrible history of racism to justify a partisan power grab in the present.
Democrats, working to pass a slew of legislation, from voting rights to gun reform, say the filibuster must go. But Republicans say there will be hell to pay if it's eliminated.
Nobody serving in this chamber can even begin to imagine what a completely scorched earth Senate would look like.
To eliminate the filibuster outright, every single Democratic senator would have to vote in favor of the move. But not everyone is on board.
If you want to make it a little bit more painful, make him stand there and talk. I'm willing to look at any way we can, but I am not willing to take away the involvement of the minority.
Recently, President Biden has signaled an openness to this kind of reform.
It used to be you had to stand there and talk and talk and talk and talk until you collapsed. And guess what? People got tired of talking and tired of collapsing. Filibusters broke down and we were able to break the filibuster, get a quorum and vote. So I strongly support moving in that direction.
And if that doesn't work, Biden now says he's prepared to go further.
We're ready to get a lot done. And if we have to, if there's complete lockdown and chaos as a consequence of the filibuster, then we'll have to go beyond what I'm talking about.
AKA the nuclear option, just like the boy Trump said in the beginning. So it's funny. See, I just point out the hypocrisy, bro. So you heard right there from their mouth, this was the Democratic representatives saying that they wanted to get rid of the filibuster because of the things that it can do, the damage that can be done for progress. If the majority of everybody else is on board, it doesn't take but a small few to do this filibuster. So the Democrats are telling you how they got a problem with it, even though they used it when Trump was in office. You feel what I'm saying? So here it is, Trump again in office. Here they come with the filibuster about some trivial issues that can easily be negotiated. Why are you using that as an end all be all for government budgets for 2026 when we got time to talk about this, right? But it's a political game. So back to what I was saying, right? This ain't new for the Democrats, bro. So the longest filibuster came from the Democrats, from people. And it's funny that Joe Biden was in that last clip because it was some of his big homies, some of his mentors that were the ones that were the Southern Dixiecrats who did not want civil rights to go through, and they filibustered as long as they could to hold off on the inevitable. You see what I'm saying? So I shared this on Facebook. A lot of people got in their feelings. They was mad about a historical fact. They wanted me to go into detail to explain why it happened, when the only reason why it happened is you had racist men who were big dogs in the Democratic Party who did not want this to happen. Whole time, we sitting here so mad with the Republicans as a race, as Black people, when no, that was the party that our ancestors was the ones running prior to Reconstruction that messed everything up. So this is why I can't wholeheartedly support a Republican Party as it stands today, because it's been reformed from what it used to be, the history of it. But we can't sit up here and lie like the Democrats just been the ones on our side when really they've been the ones playing us the whole time, because they specifically look out for the Black vote. So, you know, I'm just your homeboy. I do the research, right? I come break it down layman's terms. I got Louisiana education. I can relate to the common man. But really what happened is we've been played with. Not only was we reclassified through the system, right? And they so-called realign things. We are the main ones that they use to play this game. And we sit here, bicker back and forth amongst each other instead of focusing on the real target. All right. So this is nothing new for the Democrats. They've been doing this, specifically them, all right, because they are in the way. It just is what it is. They playing for a whole different side of the game than most people understand. But that's going to lead us into our conversation that we got. You know, we got Lee Cummings.